Welcome to the B2B Syndicate. All right, everybody, in today's video, we're gonna talk about how to post on LinkedIn. So if you've been thinking about posting on LinkedIn, you're still afraid, you're like, oh, what are people gonna think of me? Don't worry, we got you. We're gonna tell you exactly how you should approach posting on LinkedIn in 2023 and beyond. Also, before we get into today's video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video. That way, you get notified when we cook up more content like this. All right, folks, we're gonna cover 3 main points in this video. Point number 1, how do we decide who our audience is? What are we gonna talk about and who are we gonna talk about it to? Point number 2, what exactly do we post about? And point number 3, the keys to good LinkedIn posts. Now that you know what to expect, let's dive in. Okay guys, so point number 1 on deciding who your audience is the most important thing because that's going to dictate what you post about and how you approach posting in general. So here are some key questions you need to think about in order to define who is your audience. Question number 1, what do I know that most people don't know? Question number 2, what set of experiences do I have that most people don't? And question number 3, what sort of topics do I never get bored of talking about? What sort of things am I super passionate about that I could participate in a freaking debate if I wanted to? When you think about questions like this, it's gonna really help you narrow down what you wanna talk about and more importantly, who you're going to share this information with. Once we have our audience figured out, there are 7 general themes that you should be posting about. Number 1, talk about your wins, right? I'm in sales, and so a win for me takes a few different forms. If I send out a really good cold message and I get an awesome reply to it and it results in a meeting, I'm gonna share that with my network. If I sell the biggest deal of my career, I'm gonna post about it. If I had a really good meeting that resulted in getting introduced to a new part of the business or any other positive result, I'm gonna post about it. My audience is salespeople, so I wanna show them the wins because I wanna show them what good looks like. Also, by sharing your wins, you not only prove your credibility in the space, but you show people that, hey, I know what I'm talking about. Look at these wins. I know a lot of you are saying, well, I don't wanna come off as cocky or arrogant. Look, if you don't believe in yourself, who's going to? And if you don't show them the proof, the evidence that you know and you can perform and do what you claim to do, who's gonna believe you? Why should they? All right, next thing to post about, guys, is post about the losses too, right? And we need to do this to humanize ourselves because we can't just post about the positive all the time. So for example, if I send out a cold message or I cold call somebody and it has a nasty result, I get hung up on, I get cursed out, somebody says, take me off your list, this was a terrible email, I'm also gonna post about it. Why? Because people need to see what the ugly looks like. They need to know if I wanna influence salespeople, for example, I need to show them what they're gonna go through. If somebody wants to get in sales and they see my content, they're gonna have a good taste of what a good day and a bad day looks like. And you could also argue there's more value for a viewer especially in a negative post where you're sharing a loss that can turn into a lesson for them. Now, outside of your wins and your losses, talk about your day-to-day, right? Think about people that maybe want to get into your field. Let's say your audience is data people, or your audience is people in marketing, or it might be in operations, whatever it is, right? But you want to talk about the day-to-day. That way, again, people can get an understanding of who you are, what you go through, and what they could expect if they choose to follow a career path similar to yours. The next thing you want to post about is stories, right? Talk about things that you actually go through. So in my case, I might tell a story about a meeting. I might tell a story about a terrible meeting. I might tell a story that has nothing to do with sales in my profession, but maybe I was shopping for something and I had an experience with another salesperson. And I'm gonna point out what I liked that they did and what I didn't like that they did and tell a story about it. Also guys, if your stories are just purely professional, right, and they're not real life, you're reducing the likelihood of being relatable. So telling stories about things outside of work is also another good thing to post about on LinkedIn. Aside from stories, you can also make personal posts. And I know most people are like, oh, LinkedIn's corporate, LinkedIn's professional, I can't be personal, I can't post a selfie. Throw that out the window, you guys. I literally see so many selfies on LinkedIn. And me personally, how I do more personal posts is I talk about my family. Quite recently, I actually took a trip to Eastern Europe to go see my family for 30 days, and I posted about it. I sent pictures, I made a post kind of recapping my entire trip, and it got so much engagement. Why? Because everyone can relate to family. Everybody has a family, and everybody wants to hear about what others are doing, especially positive things, for their family. And the last thing to post about, you guys, is the lessons. So as you get experience in your career, I've been in B2B sales now for 10 years, I post about my first year in sales. What was it like? What did I do wrong? What did I wish I could go back and do differently? These are great things to post about because, especially for people who aren't where you're at or want to be where you're at, they want to hear the lessons. So share the lessons as well. Almost forgot. One last thing, guys. Post about what not to do. So for example, the way I do this in sales is if I get a message sent to me and somebody wants to meet with me or sell me something and it was a terrible message, I will blot out their information, but I will post the actual message I received on LinkedIn and I will point out what mistakes were made, what I didn't like, and what I recommend other sellers stop doing immediately. All right, guys, so that's point number 2. Now let's talk about some keys to a good LinkedIn post. Key number 1, keep it brief, okay? Shorter equals better. Key number 2, single lines of text, okay? Nobody has time to read blocks of text, and it's a really big turnoff if I see a LinkedIn post and it's just chunky text. I don't want to read all that. But if you make it easy to read in single lines, I'm gonna read it. Next thing, guys, is really remember this. Do not edit the post once it is posted, okay? The LinkedIn algorithm does not like that. Once you make the post and you click post, don't go back and edit it for any reason. If you got a spelling error, leave it. If you made a mistake, leave it. Unless the actual post is so bad that you're missing your entire point or something else is like that, really don't delete the post, okay? Only if it's a last resort and you absolutely need to, all right? Point number 4 would be to experiment with pictures, videos, and even selfies. Try out what your audience likes, and basically don't be afraid to put out a video. Don't be afraid to put out a photo. Don't be afraid to put out different forms of content, even carousels, right? So play around with the different types of content as well and see what your audience likes and doesn't like. And the last point, you guys, I cannot stress this enough. So many people get this wrong. Type like you talk and avoid corporate language, okay? If you start speaking really corporate and come off like you're Shakespeare, nobody's gonna read your stuff, all right? It's a huge turnoff. Keep it casual, type like you talk, make it sound like a text message. That way you actually have relatability and people can say, wow, this is a real human instead of some corporate robot. All right, folks, so those are the 3 points we wanted to cover in this video, but before we go, let's do a quick recap so we don't forget what we talked about. Number 1, decide who your audience is and review those 3 questions to help determine who you want to speak to on LinkedIn. Number 2, when it comes to posting, post about your wins, post about your losses, post about your lessons, post about your day-to-day, post about what not to do, and also don't forget the stories and the personal stuff as well. Last but not least, we talked about the keys to posting, so make sure you keep it brief, make sure you use single lines of text, make sure you experiment with the different types of content, pictures, videos, and all that. Don't edit the post once you click post, and last but not least, type like you talk. There you have it, guys. That's some 101 to LinkedIn posting. If you got value from this video, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Also, like the video and subscribe to our newsletter. We are serving up actionable sales advice every Sunday, straight to your inbox, no cost to you. With that said, hope you guys have a great rest of the day, and we will catch you all in the next video. Take it easy now.